This is WPSL Port St. Lucie.
The following is a paid program. The content is provided by the advertiser. WPSL, its staff, management, and ownership are not responsible for the content. Investment involves risk. Prior to making any investment, an investor should meet suitability requirements. Past results are not necessarily indicative of future performance. Neither the opinions expressed nor the information provided constitutes a recommendation to purchase or provide investment advice. The material presented is not a substitute for obtaining professional advice from a qualified person or firm. Securities offered through Centaurus Financial, member FINRA and SIPC. And now, the host of the Team Martek Hour, Joe Martek.
Yet? Are we ready now? Is it time for us to do it? Hey, I am Joe Martek. We're starting the show. We've got Dan the Man Woron here, most prominent, independent. How about prominent? You like that? I haven't used that. I haven't used that word before. Yeah. Independent insurance.
That's what I'm usually called.
No, that's true, but we can't use those words on the radio. Back in 2004, Joe Martek, financial advisor, Dan Woron, independent insurance agent, Greg Fasula, attorney, said, let's do radio shows.
Like a public service show.
Like a public service thing. And Greg said, why? And I said, Greg, because you know things that I don't know, that Dan doesn't know, and we can help people. He said, do we have to?
Is it sky blue? It's tough to get him to give you a definitive answer.
You know, Greg has only said yes or no once or twice in his life, I think. But you know, the one time he did, and Alan Love, special guest member, is here today too. And Alan, you'll get a kick out of this. Oh, speaking of Greg Fasula, we were just talking about you behind your back.
You were. But very
original.
Very well.
Original member. Slide Alan a bit, and then
slide Alan. Slide that way.
Okay, slide this way.
Alan.
Slide Alan.
Is easier.
I was just saying, you know, Dan was saying, Greg, you know, we can't get you to give a categorical statement, yes or no, ever. But I said, yes, we have.
Well, I think you're taught that because
in law school.
That gives you a little wiggle room.
Well, of course.
And, you know, even in my business, there are times when I use words that don't
could be, would be, maybe,
down.
Most of the time, occasionally, right?
Could be.
But the
you might be right.
But no, I do. But I do remember the one time Greg made a categorical 100% statement. And Dan, you'll remember this one.
I don't remember that.
I know you don't. But I'm going to tell you what it was. Mm-hmm. It was before you got a haircut.
Okay.
Because, you know, you lost a lot of hair recently.
Okay.
And we were talking about free education. And the question was to Greg Fasula, should there be free college education? And Greg said,
no.
See, categorical statement. And Greg is our leaning liberal, not too conservative member of the team, but
Joe, many things that are free are sometimes not valued.
Well, that was
as
his
much
reason.
as the things that you work for.
That was your reason for saying that.
Correct. I mean, I think there should be affordable education, but you know, people that are extremely rich, they should pay for education.
Do you think that college has gotten so expensive to pay for all of those college coaches who make millions and professors who make hundreds of thousands of dollars, and perhaps we have twisted, you know, the public servant attitude of working in a higher educational facility to a place where it's designed to be like a real business and make money?
Yeah, in a lot of ways it has, but you know, you have to look at also what the money that the revenue that they generate. Like,
oh yeah,
I understand. I understand. I know what the pushback is. Look how much money they bring into the school.
Right.
But you know, it sort of reminds me a little bit of, and I know it's going to be a big stretch, but like a retirement home. Mm-hmm. If you're an elderly person in a retirement home, it shouldn't cost $10,000 to keep you fed in a little tiny room.
Right.
All right? And you shouldn't have to pay and mortgage your soul to a college for a 4-year school. Mm-hmm. I think both of those things, the public has allowed this to be perpetrated on them.
However,
and it should not be.
There's grants and loans.
And I took out grants and loans, so I feel I have the right to complain.
And I'm sure you did too, Greg.
Yeah, I did. But the thing is there, you know, when you graduate, you have so much debt. It takes many years to get out of debt.
Well, but on the other hand, as an attorney, you're supposed to make a lot more money.
So do you think that as a student,
I like it.
Yes,
See, I had to
because
throw
now
the
you're
word
a
supposed.
professional.
What? Wait a minute.
Right.
We have
You're
guest.
not making minimum wage no more.
We have guest
case.
attorney, retired prosecuting attorney from Wisconsin. Would you make your first year as a prosecuting attorney?
$13,000.
You were a bit overpaid, you know.
That was 1972, just for time.
and that wasn't a bad wage in 72.
No, it wasn't.
All right. So, but here's where people fall into the trap. Let's suppose I'm going to be a teacher.
Oh boy.
I can talk about this because this is in my own family. So I discuss it with my youngest daughter. I go, listen, I can send you to the finest school in the country, but they're not going to pay you any more money.
No.
Why don't you do what we had planned early, which was you have the Bright Futures Scholarship coming to you. I paid the prepaid tuition that when you were a little girl,
Florida
so it
schools.
was ready to go. And actually, they sent me a small pittance back every semester because we had it all paid for. And they paid her just as much money when she went to school as a teacher as if she went someplace else.
If you went to an expensive Ivy
So,
League private
depending
school
on what
opposed to
you
a state
want to
school.
do,
Yeah, but if you're going to be a surgeon, I want you
well,
to go to the
different.
very best school.
And that's different.
Yeah.
All right. But if you're going to be someone who does a certain thing when's the last time you looked at, well, let me ask you this. When's the last time you looked to see where your surgeon went to school and where he graduated within that ranking at his class?
Never.
Probably never.
Never.
Yeah, my mother's whole
You're
criteria.
going to look where he went to school, I would think.
I
It's
have
hanging
never
on-
done that.
hanging
It's
on the
hanging
wall.
on the wall.
Really?
Well, I know two guys that have their Harvard,
you've looked.
Harvard degree things hanging on the wall,
Did they buy them?
and I asked them, how much did you pay for that? One was $35.
Well, I have somebody that I know very well who went to Harvard for two classes, and will tell you I'm a Harvard school graduate or whatever.
Yeah,
well, he's not.
I
I
attended
attended Harvard.
I attended Harvard.
Yeah.
Yes. No, come on.
Yeah.
Selecting
Yeah.
your words carefully.
I should have been in the graduating class of.
Right.
They don't say that.
No.
340-1590, 340-1590. So the original three, Greg Fasula, attorney, Dan Woron, independent insurance agent, Joe Martek, financial advisor, are here along with regular guest member, Alan Love, retired prosecuting attorney from Wisconsin. So, as we have three relatively strong conservatives here and one not so strong, moderate,
He's good at what he does.
what'd you think of the election yesterday, Greg?
What did I think of the election? Well, it looks like the moderates lost out because we have a liberal
Democratic
candidate for
candidate.
governor,
Yeah, but
and
he's
we
not
have a
gonna win,
very
so.
right-wing Republican. I mean,
We got
we
got two extremes. You're
yeah,
right.
if I would have
So
had my
we're
choice, I
pretty
would have
happy.
went with,
Graham?
and Putnam. So they're more liberal.
You like
more moderate.
Putnam.
Well, I like Putnam
Until
early
that
on,
one ad.
but I felt that one ad that he threw out was a little misleading about
the negative ad.
wanting to raise our taxes.
Right.
But he failed to say, well, he wanted to eliminate the
Right.
IRS tax and go to a flat tax. I think if he would have done that, those of us that were knowledgeable about that situation would have continued his support because he was way ahead early on.
Until that ad.
When that happened, I think it just discredited his
But here's
base.
the thing, Joe. The Democrats, they've run moderate candidates for years and years.
Yeah.
You got Patrick Murphy, is it? Patrick?
Yes.
Yeah, Murphy.
You
Yeah.
had Christ. I mean, all these moderates, and they lose.
didn't win.
So
I
So
will tell
why
you,
not try it?
This kid Gillum, excuse me, he's not a kid.
And Gillum was very good mayor in
Very
Tallahassee.
good. This man is dynamic, handsome, charismatic.
Charismatic.
And we had our station owner's husband came in here and said he watched the debates, and he was the only one that really went through issues and knew what he was talking about. Now, if we watched his campaign ads, I mean, what I understand is if he gets elected, all attorneys go into a 75% tax bracket. To pay. Oh, wait a minute, Dan. Independent insurance agents are 76.
And I heard that trust and estate attorneys, there'll be a 10% surcharge on top,
of
the
that.
75%.
What it amounts to is it's going to be interesting. It's pathetic how these campaigns work, but I am impressed by I'm gonna tell you what. I'm impressed with both of our candidates for governor, in that both of them did not badmouth competition. They had their issues, very strong, very committed what they're going to do. How exactly they're going to pay for all this stuff is a good question, but that will come out.
But here's the thing. This is why, you come up, you get these kind of results. People don't vote. They said yesterday was a high turnout, which was like 25-30% of
for
voters.
This.
I mean,
It depends on the district. You had some districts that were very low, historically lower than they have been, and some districts that were extremely high.
I heard the primaries are about 30% less than the general
yeah.
election.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Always.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people
I would think that would be important to people to make sure that if they're supporting a specific
so
person.
if you're a politician, do you think it's better to get out there during the primaries, hoping to get the nod, because you don't need but maybe 10,000 people to vote for you,
right?
Because nobody's coming.
No one's coming.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know. People should be required to vote. I mean,
See,
you
what
think
some,
it's because
yeah, but
don't
some
vote?
people, Greg, you don't
here's-
want them to vote.
Well, we have a
that's
mindset
true.
thing when we
That's
say
please don't.
required.
That's true.
In our Constitution, right? We are a free capitalistic society. We're not forced to do anything.
I understand that.
Now, the only thing we're forced to do is get car insurance, right?
And pay taxes.
Right.
And pay taxes.
Exactly.
Well, you don't have to pay taxes. You have to file.
That's true.
You don't have to pay.
At some point in time, you will pay taxes on something.
Yes, you will. Well, you
right.
pay taxes every time
Every
you go
time
in
you buy
grocery
something.
store, you get
Yeah.
gasoline at the pump, you're paying taxes.
If you were to figure out, if the government were to say to you, Joe, you don't have to pay any taxes all year long on everything you buy, everything you consume, to the city, the county, the state, the Fed, but come April, we're going to send you one bill
50%.
for everything. Everything that you owe us money on, you'd die.
It'd probably be 60
yeah,
or
you'd
70.
keel over. You'd keel over.
You'd get your gun
Yeah.
and go to the streets like we did against England.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what happens. All of our hidden taxes that we don't pay any attention to, everything we buy, except for food, drugs.
Don't say that, Joe, because when that farmer grows those crops.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you think from the time he puts that seed in the ground, buys that fertilizer, buys that truck, there's layers of taxation
In between.
on everything.
Then, and if he makes a profit at the end of the year, he's
Well,
got
heaven
taxes
help him
too.
if he does
income
that.
Of course.
340-1590, 340-1590. I would hope, as debates go, I'm going to predict. First, I'm going to predict that DeSantis is going to win on a landslide because, our side over here of the thing, we're up to a 4.2 GDP last quarter. You hear that? Not 4.1, 4.2.
I'm good.
And it looks as though the boy is going to continue if he doesn't get shot or even if he gets impeached. The economy is on a roll.
Looks like the boy's future is not bright.
Well, he's
Just
got
for the next 6 years.
Let's look at what happened last week. Implicated in a federal crime.
which one?
Which was what did he get?
Do you know though that
implicated?
you cannot be impeached for a crime that was committed prior to being the president.
That's right.
But
So
here's the
that's-
thing.
it's all-
But here's the thing. He's got Cohen, his longtime lawyer, is singing.
It's only
He's-
130
he's
But what's
got-
grand to pay the
what's he
hooker.
saying though, Greg?
Well, I don't know.
See,
I
none
don't
of us
know.
know what he's
we'll
saying.
We don't
find
know what
out.
he's saying.
But look
And
who else
Da-
is talking
wait,
to
and then
prosecutors.
look at Lanny Davis. Lanny Davis says it, and then he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, I was stupid and I shouldn't have said it."
That's right.
But look
So
who else
what's
is talking
being
to
said?
prosecutors. His CFO, his chief financial officer, his big
Well, they may
friend
be talking,
there
but
from
guess
the
what?
National
Nothing has come
Inquiry.
out of these conversations, though. We haven't seen any.
You're not going to hear. You're not going to hear until
So maybe
Mueller
it's
puts
just
out his
mud-
findings.
Yeah, but
maybe
we're
it's
what do
also-
you mean nothing has
mud
come out of
raking.
it?
That's all they're doing is they're raking up the dirt to try to disguise the fact that he's doing many of the things he said he was going to do.
And now you hear that the White House counsel, who spent 30 some hours with
30
Mueller,
hours, right?
is now leaving. So
Well, I'd leave too
it's
after
very
30 hours.
it's very interesting. I don't think his future is very bright.
I'm going to be real surprised if anything sticks.
I would be very
I wouldn't.
surprised. Well, you know what? What happens is this: it's going to look at what ruined Nixon. What ruined Nixon is not what he did; it was lying. He got He got convicted. He didn't get convicted. He resigned.
And that's what I think is going to happen here.
And
He's
what-
going to make a deal with Pence. He's going to resign,
I
and
don't
Pence
think he will.
is going
Look
to
at
give
Bill
him a pardon.
Clinton got caught lying, and he got impeached and did not leave office. When you get impeached, you don't have to leave office. It's a major censure. Hey, and Bill Clinton had one of the most successful presidencies. You know, in my not too humble opinion, he may go down in history as our most intelligent president ever. Bill Clinton. I'm not.
Somebody just released an IQ thing on all of the presidents that they have.
Monster.
The IQ, yes, and he's
Brilliant guy.
one of the top three.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that so far our economy is humming so well, better than probably ever in history, and it looks like it's going to continue for a period of time. You remember 2 years ago, Alan, Dan, Joe kept saying the market's overpriced, things are going to go backwards, we got problems because we have the new economy, 1.8% GDP. We never dreamed back then that we'd have a 4% GDP quarter, let alone 3, especially now 3 was
the economy has nothing to do with crimes.
Crime?
Nothing to do with crime.
It has a lot to do with being reelected.
But there hasn't been no crime yet.
Greg, oxymoron, honest politician. Oxymoron. How many politicians do we see that go into office living paycheck to paycheck and they come out multimillionaires? Coincidence. Just a pure coincidence.
Yeah.
So,
also, how many politicians do we see that go into office that they get convicted of a crime and they get reelected?
Yeah.
So...
Hey, we got our boy Elsie down here keeps getting elected no matter what. 340-1590.
How about Marion Barry?
How about the guy that was hooked up with the doctor with the Medicare fraud and all of that? I don't know his name.
I don't know. He's a senator.
Out of New York.
Yep. 340-50. The concept is this, Greg. Honesty, integrity. We thrive on it. Our group, we thrive on it. We preach it. We live it. But I got to tell you, I think the temptation, if you become a politician, is so phenomenal for these guys to start bending the rules. And then, you know, this is a terrible analogy, but if I kill one person, I'm a murderer. Well, after I've killed one, if I kill 30 more, I'm still a murderer. So once they've committed this crime and got away with it, it's called, this is now the system. Everybody, quote, remember how people justify things with, well, everybody else is doing it. Remember your kids come to you and say, well, everybody else can go without a bra, Dad. Yeah. I'm kidding. But, literally, when you're a father, how many times did your kids come?
Well, my son buddy never John came up with that one with me.
Your son never did.
Everybody else.
Thank you, Lord, that he didn't. Right? You could be a grandfather yet.
Let me bring up a point as a former prosecutor. Remember the case of the Duke basketball players that were accused of rape?
For sure.
Yes, I do.
And the prosecutor was rogue. He tried to do all he could to get these guys and form a case based on the facts that he wanted, not the facts that were out there. Well, as a former prosecutor, when I had the goods on somebody to charge, I issued a charge. It was ready to go. Let the court system handle it. But this is taking so long to even issue one charge.
Year and a half later.
It's an investigation in search of a crime.
A lot of charges.
So what? Russians are getting charged?
How many Russians?
I'm talking about Americans that are
we haven't had one American
singing
charged.
to Mueller.
In the Russian thing?
Well, from the investigation,
I think the Russians are imaginative.
340-1590.
Chinese.
We got somebody here.
Didn't Feinstein have a Chinese
well, now we just
agent
heard
as her chauffeur?
Yesterday, China had a direct tap into Hillary Clinton's emails. No problem there.
Hacked into 30,000 they can't find?
No, they had all of them. They had them. They were looking at them in real time.
You got to have some headphones for Greg. Do we not have any?
Reach behind you there, Cliff.
We got to put some. Because poor Greg, I got a guy on the line here that wants to pick on Greg. So I know.
Really? You want him to be able to hear?
I want Greg to be able to hear if he's going to get picked on.
Yeah, I got to hear the pick on.
You got to hear this. Now, I'm assuming that this is our faithful listener. Is he on yet or no?
No, I didn't press the button.
You didn't press the button?
I'm still plugging you guys in.
You're plugging us guys in? That's been a story of my life. Now,
the beauty of live radio.
Everyone can hear.
Are you, Greg? Can you hear?
I can hear.
Hey, Mike, it's Joe Martek. You're on the radio.
Good morning.
How you doing, my man?
The greatest generation. All gave some gave all. what President Trump was talking about when he said he prefers soldiers who aren't captured is he meant that he sees more in a troop that won't surrender and won't give up no matter what. That was his point.
Here's what happens is, and I got to give Trump a lot of credit for coming up with his statement and sticking with it till he just about got run over by 9 garbage trucks and forcing it. But the bottom line was the man is not backing off of his statement. Now, you and I know, Mike, that this guy is a powerhouse, and he's making things happen. Now, he didn't do it the way anybody else has ever done it in history. I wonder if Harry Truman, if we'd been born now, he'd have been more similar to the way Trump is today, because back again, not a politician. Anyway.
My father was Weldon Lewis, county administrator for 22 years, and he was in World War II as an infantryman, machine gunner, and he told us one story on his way to the Battle of the Bulge. They took towns and cleared out all the Nazi soldiers, and they went through one town, and one man who wasn't a regular enlisted German troop, no shirt on, 30 degrees snow, kept popping up out of his little embankment and picking off the soldiers one by one, and finally they gunned him down. And Dad said when he passed him and saw him slumped over his gun, he had nothing but respect for him, that he never forgot that man who fought to death for his town.
Well,
and that impressed me.
You know, listen, right or wrong, I mean, I have not an exact similar story, but I worked for a fellow named Wolfgang Gutenberg, who was an East German, who was a robber baron, wealthy family, who was a college professor, who became a foot soldier on the front line in the German army. And one day he just turned around when the Russians were on the other side, and all of the Germans turned around and started walking back home, and that was the end of that war. But the bottom line was they do what you have to do. Hey, not everybody that's gone to war in this country wanted to go to war. And listen, and this is Joe Martek's opinion now, but since the Second World War, I don't think we've had a war. We've just had donate bodies and money. And it's been a very sad thing. So anyway, what we're leaning here to, Mike, we're supposed to be picking on Greg Fasula here today, so you're not doing a very good job.
Yesterday was a good day for DeSantis, because once the truth, I have family in Tallahassee, once the real truth of the state of affairs of Tallahassee comes out, DeSantis is going to have a lot to work with against this man.
What state of affairs? Well, yeah, you know, Gillum is a very... Is
affairs the proper word?
It's bad in Tallahassee. A lot of people don't know. It's all been hidden. But a lot of truth is going to start coming out now that the real deal is on. You all will see.
Well, that's why, Mike, that Dan, Joe, and Alan, we would never be politicians, because my closet is so full of skeletons.
Gwen would have been much harder for DeSantis to defeat.
Yeah, I agree with that.
It was a good day for DeSantis yesterday. I bet he can't believe his lucky stars.
Yeah.
I don't know how it happened, but I think the pollsters convincing everyone they didn't need to bother because she had it in the bag kind of reminds me of the Hillary Clinton situation.
Yeah.
Well, you know, honestly, I never in my wildest dreams would have thought that Barack Obama, at his current level of expertise as a first-year senator, would have been able to stop that huge Clinton machine.
Yeah.
But however he pulled it off,
they made some sort of deal, and we'll never know what it was.
Whatever it is, I would have lost money betting against him.
Well, you know, look at the whole concept of, what would you say, Greg, that the man is very popular up in Tallahassee, right, Gillum?
Yeah, I understand he's done a very good job with the city.
For the city?
Mm-hmm.
You know, with skeletons, like I said, Dan, you were offered what, the presidency of Iran or something like
Absolutely,
that? Absolutely, you turned
times.
that down.
Turned it down.
He said, hey, you know, too many skeletons. The concept is, you're going to be exposed no matter what, no matter who you are, to everything in the world, and they're going to find it.
Well, you know, the first thing that comes to my mind, and I know very little about this gentleman, but I'll do my homework and learn. But here's what I would suspect. I would suspect in a college town that is extremely liberal college town,
Right.
that you probably, in order to be a popular politician, you probably have to be extremely liberal with those young voters, because they're still voters, they're young voters.
Yeah.
But that doesn't transpose across our state.
Exactly. No one knows. This man is the most far-left person that's run for governor ever in Florida.
Yeah.
I don't think he has a chance. Once the real facts and the real truth come out, he's a carbon copy of Sanders.
Well, you know,
Well, like I say, the moderates haven't done well, so they might as well
have an
you know,
extreme
I
liberal.
I don't see. Maybe they'll wake up the base. Maybe they'll get people out to vote.
I'm gonna go back and paraphrase what Donald Trump said. What have you got to lose, when he said, "Hey, to the black community, look how poorly you've been treated.
Yeah,
What have you got to lose?
What have you got to
Vote
lose?
for me." So
I
maybe
agree.
you're right in his position of saying, "Hey, listen, we've tried moderates.
Yeah.
We haven't done well.
Yep.
Let's see what a super uber leftist will do. Maybe I'll do better." So we'll see.
Mike, we're all on the same page, my man. Everything else normal?
Yes, very well. Kicking on all cylinders.
All right, my guy. Appreciate you calling in. Love talking to you every week.
You too. Thanks now.
Bye. 340-1590, 340-1590. And speaking of another ultra-liberal, we got Bulldog on the phone.
Excuse me? Holy Ron DeSantis, did you call me that? Hey, who is the free education freak in the group?
None of us.
Nobody.
None of us.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was Fasula I was going to pick on him.
No, let me tell
He
you.
values that education.
You weren't listening to the beginning of the program because
Oh, yes, I was. But the thing is, how about free medical guys? Because
No, we can't do
now,
that either.
now, wait a minute. You got to be careful here because
free
it's
means
been
pay taxes.
proposed
Free means you
by
ain't gonna get
Bernie
anything.
Sanders, where everybody gets Medicare. There you go.
well, guess what?
I'm 100%.
Joe
for
But
Martek.
it won't be
Medicare
Joe
for all.
Martek's,
Medicare, people.
I'm in
It'll
favor.
be Medicaid, and you won't get any coverage.
See, that's an opinion. But guess what? Us that are over 65. I mean,
Yeah, you're happy with
I'm
your
not
Medicare.
there yet.
you know, but Dan,
I'm
you're
getting
you're paying
close.
$3,000 a month. I love you.
I know.
Medicare is one of the most popular programs ever.
Listen, when
But is it solvent?
It
Is
won't be
it's
what
not
it is.
solvent.
well, you know how you have to raise the taxes.
You have to raise
Guess
the
what?
taxes.
Listen, the key thing there's nothing in the world that's free. Everybody
But
says,
they did raise taxes under Obamacare. They did the penalties, and the
but
premiums
that
are
had
ungodly.
nothing to do with
But-
Medicare.
but they
That
had money.
Nothing to do with Medicare.
But they had money and still no coverage.
No, but
Well, the way people on Obamacare, what killed Obamacare was the lack of participation.
lack of
But
participation
when
from
you
people
choose,
that didn't have
but
health.
when you choose not to participate, you are being fined.
Yeah, but $700
It's
is
a
not
nothing
like
fine.
$2,000 a
was-
month.
Yeah. oh.
$700 a
Okay,
year.
but why does it cost $2,000 a month?
Here's
Why?
Well,
Healthcare is just a mess, and it's getting worse.
Yeah.
It's getting worse every year, and something's got to be done. And to me, the solution is Medicare for all.
And everyone should pay then.
absolutely.
should pay.
Everyone should have to
Absolutely.
pay for it.
Look, I've said this repeatedly, and Greg and I don't agree on everything. But boy, and Dan, I've had beat him up 3 or 4 times to get him to somewhat agree that Medicare, if you're 64 and 11 months and 15 days, you can't have it. But you turn 65, that second you now become entitled to do something you've been paying into your entire working career. It's not fair. Look at. Not fair. Why should it's discrimination at its
Well, how about
worst.
this thought, Joe?
Discrimination.
So
It
for,
is
for
discrimination.
years and years, I pay into something that I can't use.
Right.
I can't use
Well,
it.
then you're lucky you'll die before
That's
you turn
right. So I
65.
can't use it. And why is that? Because when you turn 65, you pay a pittance of what it's worth.
That's true.
Because from 65 to whenever you die, you're going to probably spend 95% of the money you're going to spend on fixing your broken
Of
down
course,
body.
maybe 98%.
So that's why it takes all those years to accumulate money. What they should do is never touch that money.
well,
Too
famous
late.
plan.
Never touch the Medicare money.
Too
never
late.
Touch Social
I'm
Security.
just telling you, they should never touch it. If they did what they were
Yeah.
supposed to do,
Shoulda,
it would
woulda,
work
coulda.
fine.
Shoulda, woulda,
But what
coulda.
would be scary is you put all these new people in. If it's based on a reasonable premium, in other words, you come in with Medicare and you're 40 years old and your premium is $700 a month. I can live with that, but if it's $200 a month, it's doomed for failure.
What happens is this. Right now, I think it's $140 a month is taken out of my Social Security check for Medicare.
Okay.
And that pays all but like $1,000 deductible for the hospital, and all but it pays 80% of any doctors that I go to that take Medicare.
Right.
So now
You
I can
buy your own.
I can get a supplement for another $200 a month, let's say. So
Or
now
pay
I'm-
your 20%.
or I can pay the 20% or the $1,000 deductible. So for basically $350 a month,
You're home free.
I'm home free. That's the way the system works. Or I go to managed care and have no premium except my $140, and Medicare pays the HMO company or PPO company $6,000 or $8,000 a year to take care of me. So
So if you're paying, it's $5,000-6,000 a year. Let me compliment you, Joe. You take fairly good care of your health. You're not, decrepit and having all kinds of injuries.
I'm careful with that decrepit one. I question that.
Wait a minute.
But I'm telling you, there are a lot of people your age who cost the system
Lots of money.
$100,000 routinely.
Oh, but are they costing the system, or are they paid for that?
Question is,
well, it's like one visit at $100,000 a whack pays for all that you paid.
but this got
Well,
nothing to
insurance
do.
has to average out. You got your health.
There you go.
You have your
Well, here's
so
what-
back to my original statement. Everybody would have to participate for it to actually
Everyone
work.
has-
Everybody. And
So
the way-
should they charge more for younger people for this Medicare
Listen,
for all
I don't
because
I don't
they have
care
longer to work?
Well, what they should do is like they do in real health
They'll quit
insurance,
working.
give you a 5 or 10 year bracket. If you're between this age and this age, this is what you pay.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
but you'll get more people will go, I'm not working. I'm just going to collect whatever aid I
but
can
wait
get.
wait a minute. This is taken out of your paycheck.
If
But
you work.
if I don't work and I get aid from the government,
Okay, so
I don't
the,
have to pay
so the
nobody
next
anything.
so the next subject
Well, that's
is
Medicaid.
next subject is called
no,
the
I
fair
mean
tax.
housing, I mean
Flat
food,
tax.
I mean everything.
Let
So
me tell
one
you,
should go with the other to make it truly
make
work.
it truly fair. Bulldog, we've been talking about this on the radio for years. Medicare for everybody is one. Number two, eliminate income tax and have a value-added tax, flat tax on everything in the world. So
Which makes everyone participate.
everybody participates. Period. 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 And that solves that the
But
whole.
I know you didn't call about all that.
But what's going to happen, though, is, Mr. Martek, I'm sorry, you need a knee replacement, but we won't give you one because we're in charge of your medical and we're in charge of your insurance.
No, but you know what'll
Go
happen
home
is
and sit on
So
the
if you
couch.
think that the
I'm-
American society says, as a citizen of this country, I'm entitled to the finest, most advanced
Yeah, I
medical
am.
procedure there is.
Yeah, I am. Yeah,
That's
I am.
not going to happen. I'm just telling
It's
you.
not going to happen.
Yes, it will.
Nope. And
No.
anyway, just to get to another point, we're talking about, tuitions and things like that, how to do this. Alan would understand this. Law degrees are not cheap. Neither are medicals. And I'm fighting that battle, and it's expensive.
Well,
Because,
education's
I
not
mean,
cheap.
Excuse me. Do you want to be taught, or do you want to be your life saved? So that I look at it as Mary Beth as just as much stature as a teacher, but she saves your life. So you pick your poison there.
My man.
You know what I'm saying,
not
sir?
only that is she hasn't shot you yet, so
I
she
want
saved
my
your life
doctor
too.
to make lots of money on that procedure.
Yep.
Well, you want your doctor to be well trained and everything, but think of their college bills when they
Oh yeah.
come out.
Oh yeah. Well,
But
I mean,
a
and
lot of
that free
doctors
education is not going to be no.
cannot doctors and lawyers and other professionals do public service work? And I know the answer to my question, so I know what the answer is. Can they not do public service work with certain government organizations to reduce that debt? And the answer is yes, they can.
however, when you're going to law school and you're working 2 jobs and you've got student loans, you're not even sleeping much. Greg, do you remember those days?
I remember those days. Absolutely.
I know many
Every
lawyers
night.
who have who got huge debt, came out, go to work as a public defender's office, and they're there for 10 years and pretty much walk out. with very little to no debt now.
But 10 years to pay off debt's a long time. But guess
you're
what?
Here's the other
But
problem.
you know that
Meantime.
going in. You know that going in.
With student loans, what's happening though is they're borrowing money and they're taking courses to become this type of professional, and then halfway through that's not working out. So now they change and they get more student loan, and they're like professional students.
Yes.
Well, as
And,
long
the-
as you're
and all they do is rack up the debt, and no one's ever graduating.
well, guess what? That's the rule.
Well, you've got schools that make a fortune off people trying to teach them something. They don't care if you don't pass.
No kidding.
Sure.
All right, they just
Sure.
want you to get in to get this government-funded scholarship,
Sure.
and then on to the next victim.
Yes.
So we know
And
that
nobody ever,
happens,
yes.
too.
Hey, Bulldog, we got another caller here waiting that wants to pick on Greg. You got anything else?
Nope. Well, yeah. One other thing, guys, for you. I'm having a little social gathering somewhere in October. St. Lucie Draft House. If you guys.
They don't
wanna
serve
listen-
scotch there.
They do.
Well, they do.
It sounds
Oh,
like
they do.
Oktoberfest.
Well,
to
then
me.
guess what, Bulldog? I'm there. You're buying.
right.
You're buying, right?
You know, I'll give you. Well, of course, first round at
First
least,
round.
and then
First
you're on
round.
your own.
Joe will leave after the
I'm
first
going to
round.
stop
just so
in
you'll
there and
know.
make sure they have Macallan or some other really good single malt.
Bring a lot of business cards, boys.
right,
well,
Ma-
I'm just saying. So
October.
I'll let you know.
All right.
You'll let us know.
Bye-bye.
Hey, we're going to
Later.
have a couple faithful listeners come in and
We don't
join us
have
too.
John.
We lost John.
Because that line's ringing, so he's not there.
Okay, that's too bad. Well, John, I'm sorry we waited too long, but hey, please call us back and we'll get you on the radio now because Greg needs to get picked on. So we his boy Gillum got elected yesterday, so we need to pick on him. 340-1590, 340-1590.
You know, Joe, there is financial discrimination throughout our life. There are many examples of it. You were talking about the day that you're one day short of your 65th birthday,
Yeah.
you don't get Medicare,
Right.
and then you do on your 65th birthday. Well, as an example, what about financing a car? You buy a car, and the next day you wake up, and the dealer that you bought it from is offering 0% financing, and you just signed a contract for X amount of interest.
You're not too bright, are you?
I mean,
you were an
it-
That's the
attorney.
name of
It,
it.
it happened.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
It happened.
But that's called timing, and I don't see an exact analogy because you don't know 6 years in advance that 65 is the cutoff for Medicare. But on the car, you don't have a clue what their new special is going to be next day, next week, next thing. And you think a car salesman, if he knows ahead of time, is going to tell you? No.
No.
Oh, hey, come in today. Oh, listen, Joe, I don't want you to buy that car till next month. Because I don't need any money for food. My kids don't need anything. My wife doesn't care about a paycheck. So
Yeah.
you're not
But
going to
there
hear.
is financial discrimination. I mean, I heard a black comedian, and he was a knowledgeable man. Was telling some jokes, and he was saying how the age of black men is when they die is much younger,
Yeah.
and how so many of them never collect Social Security because they die. Now, his joke was, well, now the retirement age for the black should be 50.
You're right.
They should let Eric.
That was his-
This is an
that was his-
achievable goal.
Right, that was his joke. But the truth of the matter is, there are a lot of people who never collect a penny, who work all their lives
right, that's
and
right.
never collect a penny. So is that
Or
discrimination?
They die after one paycheck or two or three,
It
'cause
should be, since it was your money, your estate should get your money.
well, here comes
Yeah.
the system though. It's like insurance.
Or then maybe
Dan.
they should just stop
Dan,
taking it.
It can't be that way because it's to pool. All this money goes into the pool, like automobile insurance, house insurance. X number goes out to pay claims. Some people never have a claim their whole life.
We
they-
talked about discrimination, and that's really what it is.
Well, and that's how the business of life works.
But in life insurance, we say, oh, give us some health information.
Right.
If you're unhealthy, it's going to cost you more.
Cost you more.
All right. At some point in time, now they don't.
But if
do
I'm
it
a drunk
now.
driver, it's going to cost me
Yes,
more.
it will. At some point in time, I fully
drive a red
expect
Mustang convertible.
they will have
Cost you more.
they'll have genetics involved with life insurance. You watch and see. I won't probably see it in my career.
And I'm not saying
but
that's
they'll have
wrong.
Oh well, that's what all this is about.
Well,
This
guess what? If you have
23andMe
good genetics, you're gonna
and
pay less.
ancestry.
And people are going to say, and as you should.
Yeah.
But that's not the way
I
it is
know.
right now.
I understand.
How
they're
about they
gonna-
get out of my business and just let me handle
That's right.
myself?
Let me roll my own dice.
I
Yeah.
know. What I understand is starting next year, they're going to put computer chips inside every lawyer's head.
People goose step down the road.
Well, I have nothing to worry about because the chip won't find anything in mine.
340-1590. 340-1590.
We can't keep coming back to the same solution. It's got to be Medicare for all.
You
be.
and I are 1,000% on the same thing. Tax for it. Very simple. If you got everybody in the world. But here, there's two things.
It frightens me beyond belief.
I know it does because you're used to. Our producer has a special needs child and it's on Medicaid and the abuses in that system.
And I'll be told no.
And
he'll need something to save his life that would prolong his. And I will be told, but I'll be told no.
But
you know the system, so you fight it.
But in Medicare, you have approved procedures. Period. They're all coded. Every single one. Every doctor that accepts Medicare.
But what if they're come up with a new procedure that's just coming out? It's been approved by the AMA,
but it may not be Medicare approved.
How do you get that?
Well, the key thing is this: every single
You're not
person
gonna
that
get
has it
anything
is
done.
in the same boat. They all are denied.
Well,
and that happens
listen,
today.
I have some friends who have children who are part of a tiny, tiny, tiny group of people who have this terminal disease.
Yeah.
They get no help.
No.
Because there's not enough money in it for big pharmaceuticals to help.
But we do know this. There's no such thing as 100% fairness in anything.
That's very true.
Death and taxes were the only two things we know for sure.
We try to avoid both of those, don't we?
And they're always no evasion, but avoidance.
I didn't say evasion. I said avoidance.
The key thing is this: no matter what system you have, there's
It's
going to be abuses.
Perfect.
No such thing.
There's going to be some that fall
Have you ever
between the
noticed,
cracks.
Dan, that every system is run by attorneys?
Well, I mean, if you go back in time to the Levites, who were the law,
and
they were the ones who interpreted the law. So up till today, we still have attorneys, and their job is to interpret the law and do what they're supposed to do.
That's their job.
And what we hope and pray for is honorable men who look after society.
We all know this. There are always honorable people, and there's always people that are not honorable. It's just the way life has always worked, and it always will. You're never going to make a crook an honest person, and it's hard to make an honest person a crook. So the object is this. There will be abuses, but in order to make the system work, and we will talk about this repeatedly, and I'm glad you brought it up again, Greg, but a fair tax and Medicare in the long run, I look as the major salvation of our deficit.
Question, Joe. If we have Medicare for all, is there a cap on how much a person can get benefit-wise?
No.
Yes, because they're going to say, I'm sorry, you can't have that procedure.
Today,
we're not paying for it.
Not today.
No, but I'm saying if it would come
fine.
in.
No, listen.
I mean, are you
get a $1 million cap? Okay, go die. We're pulling the plug today on you. No,
that's how it used to be. Health insurance
but
used
it's
to
not
have maximum out of pocket.
Health insurance.
So the company could protect itself from somebody who's going to spend $50 million in their lifetime.
And not die.
Would the government want to have those same protections to protect the general taxpayer?
Who was this fellow?
There can't be.
Who was this fellow that just died that was world-renowned?
Stephen Hawking.
I mean, and this man, that was a walking time bomb for how many years? To keep him alive couldn't be cheap.
No.
But I'm just trying to say, there are. This is America, for God's sake, guys. Come on. We're in
do you
America.
remember when Obama was running for office, and he was at one of those meetings, and a very nice lady gave an elegant speech about her mom and how she survived, and asked him point blank, would, in your program for Obamacare, would there be room for my mom to have these procedures? And he, in a nice way, basically said, no, we'd find a way to make her comfortable and give her some medication at her age. Now, the lady was saying, life is special to my mom. She's a vibrant woman at 90 or whatever years old. Right. And most people think that when you're that old, you shouldn't have a zest for life. But her mom did, and she wanted these procedures. Yeah. So it's hard to say, Joe.
Listen, the whole concept is this. If we have a format already laid out that's been working for years and years and years called Medicare, and you can have Medicare and be under 65. You can have Medicare disability at 30, 40, 50, pick a number.
Yes, you can.
The system is exact. You can get supplements exactly the same.
It's proven to work.
It's proven to work.
But they won't keep it that way if they give it to all.
Wait a minute, negative naysayer. You don't know that. You don't know that. There will be abuses. There's doctors that'll take advantage of it. There's customers, clients.
There will
we have a doctor here in Port
There
St.
will
Lucie
be panels
some kind of an
who
eye doctor
assess
got in all
your
that trouble for all that work he did.
The way it
Don't
works
we have
today.
a governor whose company was the biggest Medicare fraud scam ever in the history of the United States?
That was never convicted or proven. You see, here comes.
Oh, come on.
Did he go to jail?
Not him personally, but it wasn't proven.
But not him personally means no.
That means no.
He oversaw the company.
Let me ask you a question. Are all attorneys honest?
No.
No.
Do all the dishonest ones go to jail?
No.
No. Do they all get prosecuted? No.
And what if you had a dishonest attorney? I'm going to throw this out. What if you had a dishonest attorney who was the finest, absolute finest orator and litigator in the state and did a magnificent job for all of his clients, but sort of walked the gray area? Should he be pitched out or should he be kept?
How's that again? He's a
attorney. Fantastic attorney. He gets everybody off. He knows the law. Great orator. But he's kind of shady in his business dealings and practices.
You've never heard of such a thing.
Should he be pitched?
Well, there's degrees of shadiness.
So there's a degree.
What degree of shady is it?
Well, you know what? Sometimes you need shady in order for the workings of the
Well, you laugh
system.
about that, but I have had conversations with my friends, and I've said, that's the bulldog you need for that particular case.
All I know is this.
With Greg's last answer about degree, that ends my complimenting Joe, because Joe was saying he rarely gets a yes or no answer from Greg, and I was counting this show. Greg gave 2 yes answers and 3 no's.
Well, that's a good thing you didn't have to use more than one hand. And Greg's never useful the whole hand. What time we have,
You
Mama?
got about 8 minutes.
340-1590, 340-1590. Let me explain the other members of our group that are not here because we got a little political. Obviously, the 3 of us started doing these shows, and we do get a little carried away from time to time, but let me explain how and why the 3 of us ever got together. Number one, when I go to see new clients or prospects, I often talk about a will or a trust, and then I would now find a local attorney to help these people. Then I would go with my client to see that local attorney, and then very often I would throw up on that attorney's desk when I found out what an arrogant, pretentious, expletive deleted he was and how much money he was charging these people, and I got sick to my stomach because the client did not know what I knew. So then, somewhere along this line, 20-some years ago, I met Greg Fasula and did do the same thing, and I took these people in, and Greg listened. Greg listened. Greg was not pretentious. He wasn't arrogant. And then when he told them how much he was going to charge them based on their conversation, which the first consultation was no charge, it was fair, extremely fair. So then, over a period of time, no matter what I did, every client either went to Greg, and if they didn't go to Greg, I would say, you should talk to Greg at least on the phone for him to refer you if you're down in Miami and you're not going to come up here, so maybe he can put you in the right direction. So Greg, listen, even though you're a flaming liberal, I love you. You've got one of the best hearts, one of the better people I've ever known in my whole life,
Joe.
period.
Love you too.
So then Dan Woron, independent insurance agent. What did I want? Not a captive agent, because captive agents work for one company, and that company sets the rules. Well, we've all seen the debacle of captive companies. Dan became an independent insurance agent many years ago. Now, 38 years later, is one of the, or if he's not the premier independent insurance agent on the Treasure Coast because of his large book of business and roughly 100 companies, that Dan's staff and his ability to get the job done was the 2 of them, and then they were willing to put up with Joe Martek as a financial advisor because neither one of them could spell the words. I think that was how that worked.
I didn't want to do the compliance job.
Didn't do the compliance stuff. So we started doing these shows in order to help people and answer questions in these 3 different areas. And then we added Ms. Victoria Lloyd Remax of Stewart, who's only been a realtor since 1980, who everybody in this room knows she is the hardest working person alive. She has more integrity than anybody I know. This girl, if she says she's going to call you at 3 in the morning, just don't go to bed because she's going to call you. She's going to do exactly what she says. She knows every street. I called her last week about property over in Harbor Ridge. I said, how come they're so cheap? He says, because it cost you $68,000 in fees to get in the door. Anyway, little thing. Which brings me to Mike Paulus, mortgage broker, who, here again, we'd gone through some of the worst times with our Great Recession, and there was rumors and words out in the media said there was no mortgage money available, and that was never true. Never true. VA mortgages were there, no money down. FHA mortgages were always there with 3.5% or 5% down. The USDA program with no money down. All of these programs were available and always were. The rules went back to old rules, which meant you had to actually prove you could make the payment.
That's not a bad rule.
And it never was a bad rule. I mean, hey, Greg, loan me $10,000 and I'm never going to pay you back. Greg would look at me and say, who else is here, Joe, you can talk to? You can quit talking. I mean, the rule is this. If you have an ability to pay somebody, it makes it look like a viable instrument. So the concept of the group was very simple. We're here to save you money. I'm here to make you money. Now, we're not much time left to talk about making money. 2 minutes. I want to talk next show. I want to talk next show the difference between an index annuity and a variable annuity. People are constantly come up against this, and they regularly think that they are the same, and they are dramatically different. Index and variable. Number one, if you have an index annuity, you don't have to have a securities license. If you have a variable annuity, you have to have a securities license plus the state insurance licenses. If you have an index annuity, broker-dealers don't necessarily like these things. That's the Dean Witters, Merrill Lynch's, minus Satoris Financial. They have to go through their system and have to be approved products because not all of these things are created equal. So I want to spend some time on the next show because I've had 2 instances in the last week that these came up again. And even though we talk about them, I need to spend a good 15 minutes differentiating. So in case you're talking to somebody about these things, you need to have some education. 340-1590, 340-1590. And if you don't want to talk to us on the radio, which we're out of time anyway, call the radio station anytime. They'll take your name and number and get back to you. And we do appreciate Mike calling in. And John, sorry we missed you. Bulldog, we love you. You know that. And look forward to that Macallan Scotch in October. We got a minute left. Huh? Is that right?
Yeah. Keep blabbing.
Keep talking.
So our next governor is going to be Gollum, huh?
Could very well be.
Well,
I wouldn't be surprised.
Oh, boy.
I'd be surprised.
Would I be surprised?
Gotta say thank you to our president for this wonderful economy. Stock markets at record highs.
Unemployment at a record low.
He took over a wonderful economy.
Oh boy.
He just
4
continued
point.
it.
Hey, even Obama said 1.8 new economy. 4.2.
He asked what magic stick did he have to do this with?
4.2. 4.2 last quarter gross domestic product, highest one in modern history. And I'm not sure where modern history started, but it was way back before the 50s.
Modern history started with you.
Consumer
Well, that was way back.
Your average
consumer
person,
confidence is at an 18-year high as well.
Your average person is not feeling it. We're paying more for
You're feeling it.
everything.
Are you an average person?
Yeah.
Well,
we're
no
paying
wonder.
more for groceries. We're paying more for insurance. We're paying more
Yes,
for
we are.
gas.
Say
We're paying
goodbye,
more for
guys.
not
You're looking
Goodbye,
a little,
guys.
You're looking a little chubby, Greg. 340 till next week. We'll see you. Bye.
You've been listening to the Team Martek Hour. The Team Martek Hour is a paid program. The content was provided by the advertiser. WPSL, its staff, management, and ownership were not responsible for its content. Investment involves risk. Prior to making any investment, an investor should meet suitability requirements. Past results are not necessarily indicative of future performance. Neither the opinions expressed nor the information provided constitutes a recommendation to purchase or provide investment advice. The material presented is not a substitute for obtaining professional advice from a qualified person or firm. Securities offered through Centaurus Financial, member FINRA and SIPC. Tune in again next Wednesday at 11:05 for the Team Martek Hour here on WPSL 1590.